Hi guys, glorious, blessed, blissful morning to you all, depending on where you are, you're hearing and watching and listening to me from here. Of course, it's the Afcon situation. Of course, it has come and gone, and it hasn't come and gone with a whole lot of controversies and happening trend and disagreement and agreement and reactions across the world of football. And of course, the outcome as it came was it really Morocco's Afcon or it was African Afcon? Because of course the Moroccans were so particular in this case, but trying to personalize and privatize the competition because they hosted and they felt it's just their right to host and win and wanted to do everything possible to clinch the trophy. And that being said, you saw them becoming so desperate in all department, all angle in of course, in the area of organization, officiating. Of course, you can't take it away from them. The standard of organization in terms of facilities was top notch. But in terms of seeing out the fairness in terms of being played and officiating and taking and maintaining a good atmosphere and has to do with the crowd and attendance. In attendance, it was really nothing to write home about. Of course, we saw how unruly some of their fans were. Of course, the Afcon, the final was really a showdown between the Teranga Lions of Senegal and the Atlas Lions of Morocco. Controversies erupt during the match that made the Senegalese coach to call his lads off the pitch, and which of course the international community has frowned and raised eyebrow about that. It was unprofessional and an unprofessional thing to do. That it would have led to the destruction of African football. But of course, thank God for the hero of the day that saved not only their football, the Senegalese football, but the African football at large, and of course, and help to end the respect of international community and legends of the game. Also, of course, people have been commended him, not other than the man himself, the Senegalese standing captain for that day, because of course the captain Koulibaly, he was booked for a yellow card offense that made him miss that very final of the match. Or of course, could be injury, of course. So he missed the match, thereby paving the way for Sadio Mane to become the captain of the day, standing captain. And of course, he proved it as a captain, as a leader, and a leader with high sense of discipline, high sense of professionality, and a high sense of responsibility. Yeah, even if when the players were walking off the pitch, he refused to leave, and he stood. And of course, after several consultations from also legend in the game and coaches, particularly Claude Roy, I think a French coach that has also coached some of the teams in Africa. So Sadio Mane decided to do the unthinkable by calling back his lad and deciding whatever happened in the match, even if they lose, they're going to lose. They will know that they lose it honorably, and they didn't run because he will fight and run away to fight another day. Of course, they stood their ground, and of course, Providence prevailed in their favor because they were able to carry the day. Because of course, the world also what happened during the competition en route to the final. The officiating has always been tilted towards the side of the Moroccans. Who knows how they arrived at that very operation? Nobody knows, but of course, it was always glaring, the officiating, which of course the international community have also found that no matter how the officiating, it is not right for a team to walk out of the pitch in that kind of a standard of competition that the world were all watching. So kudos to Sadio Mane and for his leadership quality, and of course, and then him respect all over the world. And of course, again, talking about the response of some of the legends in the game, coaches and the likes, of course, no other than the man himself, Arsene Wenger, that also was like shared his opinion, of course, that why was the world against Morocco? It was like the whole African continent and everybody were against Morocco. Yeah, of course, it's his own opinion, but he's entitled to his own opinion. But of course, I didn't see it that way because it was the way the Moroccans approached the competition and approached the game. Of course, like I saw, they really wearing that. I saw it from the very beginning, which I made a mention of that. Of course, they are really not a contender for the trophy. But somebody, of course, tried to argue that they are. But of course, history, of course, at the end of the day, has justified that they weren't a contender. They were like being favored all through the competition to have gotten to the final, and of course, the final soil all glaring that they couldn't go home or return the trophy in their home soil. So, of course, another thing that I also observed was the very fact that years ago, Moroccans, of course, they also did the unthinkable when they were participating in the 2002 22 World Cup. Yeah, of course, because they suddenly were really performing on the advancing, that they were able to advance to the semi-final stage, and because of that, they started disregarding other African countries. I was trying to identify with them and even support together with them to lift the continent up. And you could imagine them saying that they deny the African brothers that they're not Africans. So it's like coming home now to organize such competition. You see what happens. Like the nemesis now was now falling upon or going against them. It was time nemesis now caught up with them. So, guys, I think, of course, sanctions have been given out. Of course, the Senegalese coach has been sanctioned and by CAF banned from some match. And yeah, of course, it's also rumored that the possibility of stripping the Senegalese of the cup is also there. And more, of course, it's still going to unfold in later days, because it still was a grave dent and a grave embarrassment to African football at this stage. So, guys, leave your comments, like, follow, and let's get going. Love you guys.